Dear students, welcome back to the session on Database Management System, and the topic of the session is the terminologies of ER model. The session outcome is to explain the basic concepts of ER model. This picture we have already discussed that this is a sample of the ER model relationship, that is entities which are related together with the help of relationship, and each of the entities will have attributes. Now let us discuss the terminologies which are used in the ER model. The first terminology is entity set. The entity set is a set of entities of the same type that share the same properties or attributes. So entity is a basic object which is a real world representation, and that collection of all the related entities or entities of the same type, you call it as entity set. The set of all people who are instructors at a given university, for example, can be defined as an entity set instructor. Entity sets do not need to be just disjoint. For example, it is possible to define the entity set of all people in the university as person, and that person entity may either be an instructor entity, a student entity, both, or neither of the both. So the entity set represents the group of entities, and the entity can be designed by the programmer or the designer of the database. One possibility here in case of university databases, you can define all the people in the university to be a person entity, and that person can be either an instructor or student, both or neither. Or otherwise, you can have a set of people who are instructors alone to be the entity, and group of instructors to be the entity set instructor. It is up to the designer. The next is a relationship. A relationship is an association among several entities. Example, student advised by instructor. So here advice is the relationship between the instructor and the student. Instructor, student, instructor is an entity, student is an entity, and we have a relationship advisor between the instructor entity and the student entity. A relationship set is a set of all relationships of the same type. The next thing is participation. The association between entity sets is referred to be as participation. Entity sets E1, E2, En, etc. participate in a relationship set. In the previous example, advisors is a relationship between the instructor and the student, and the entities instructor and the student participate in the relationship advice. A relationship instance in a ER schema represent an association between the named entities. So instance means that student and the advisor or the instructor, that is a instance of the relationship. At particular point in time, what is the relationship instance is defined by the association between the named entities. Here is an example. This is relationship set advisor. This is the list of all instructors. So this forms an entity where you have Crick, Katz, Srinivasan, Kim, Singh, Einstein. These are all the instructors of the organization, and these instructors have an ID for their own unique identification. And we have a student entity set which consists of all the students of the organization. Here it is a sample, so you have limited number of students and the instructors. So each of these student have a ID, which is the student ID or the roll number, that helps to uniquely identify that particular student in that organization. So here is a relationship between the instructor and the student. So this is an example for an instance what I have stated you in the previous slide. So Crick advises Tanaka. So this is a relationship instant of advisor. Similarly, Srinivasan advises Brown. So this is a instance of the relation. And similarly, all the instructors, based on their relationship, they will be represented. The next is role. The function that an entity plays in a relationship is called as the entity's role. What is the role of that particular entity in a relationship is stated. The same entity set participates in a relationship set more than once in different roles, which is called as recursive entity or recursive relationship set. For example, a person, instructor, can be a advisor and at the same time can be a teacher. So the same entity plays more than one role, which is called as recursive relationship set. Or otherwise, a staff in a branch can be a manager. So the same person is a manager and also a staff. So the same person or the entity set takes two different roles in the same relationship set. So it is called as a recursive relationship set. I repeat, a staff is an entity who is a manager in the branch. So the staff is an entity, manager is an entity. The same person or the entity set staff plays two different roles. So it is called as a recursive relationship set. A relationship may also have attributes which are called as descriptive attributes. Example, date of relationship established between instructor and student. So this is represented as a attribute for a relationship. For the diamond symbol, we have an attribute which is called as descriptive attribute of the relationship. The next is the degree of relationship. The number of entity sets that participate in a relationship set is called as degree of the relationship set. So when two entities are participating in a relationship, it is called as entity or relation with degree 2. A binary relationship set is of degree 2 and ternary relationship set is of degree 3. Here, instructor and student are the entities which participates in a relationship advisor. Here we have only two entities, so it is called as binary relationship. Consider a case where an instructor is guiding a student on a project. So we have three entities here, that is instructor, student and project. So project guidance is the relationship that is established between student, instructor and project. So this is a kind of ternary relationship. When we have three entities which are participating in the relationship, it is called as ternary relationship. Here is the pictorial representation of ternary relationship and binary relationship. Consider the case here. R is the relationship which is represented inside a diamond symbol, and we have entities A, B and C which participates in the same relationship. For example, instructor, student, project. So here three entities are involved in this particular relationship. It is called as ternary relationship. The next case is the binary relationship where we have separate entities. This relation RB that relates the entity B with entity E, and this is a binary relationship. Here one more relationship which establishes a relation between the entity A and E. This is also a binary relationship. Here also we have only two entities which are involved in a relation, so it is called as binary relationship. So this is the difference between ternary and binary relationship, and these are called as the degrees of the relation. Summary: we have discussed some basic terminologies or the concepts of the ER model and the detailed definition of these concepts. We have discussed about what is entity set, what is relationship set, and what is meant by participation, and what is the role of the entities, and how to define the degree of the relationships. This is the reference book and the textbook. Thank you.